Hey there, happy Monday there, it's me, Curiosity Trader. Just gonna go over really the only trade which I took today. Hopefully you're having a great Monday. Remember that every day is unique, alright? You don't have to trade every day, just focus on setups. I pretty much talked about this one yesterday. Recent metal theme plays have been going. A lot of metals have been going. I'm watching the ETF, kind of going nowhere, but obviously we had that rally earlier this past year, and pretty much I've been watching all of the metal theme plays. And again, former runners, had a nice secondary rally here, and here we are basing on the moving averages, and that's pretty much what I saw. And we had a nice gap up last week with some news, and remember I always mention keep an eye on those for a secondary move, and pretty much I was watching when it's developed these ranges, for that nice range break. And that's pretty much what we got today. There was news on it this morning with, I believe, an acquisition. They're going to buy some company or whatever, and there's news on it, recent runner, former news, ADR's high, and it's a setup. So I pretty much took my shot out of the open, and with this method, I'm trying to get it right in at the open, and that's pretty much what happened. Of course, previous highs were about 1375 to say, and obviously I got long in anticipation of it breaking that. That's a good setup. A good risk reward low of day was stop. But pretty much, we rejected, it pretty much stuffed. And here's what I was thinking, I was buying it here, for the anticipation for it to have that nice range break over these prior levels. And in hindsight, I don't regret this trade. It's a good setup. I had a risk reward. It just didn't work out, and obviously, like I tweeted on this today, it literally rallied back, and I got long again. Pretty much very small size, really pathetic. I have a cash account, okay. 1325 is what I bought, pretty much out of this right here. I have a cash account, not a margin, so the funds didn't settle. So the largest of my bulk size was out of the open here. And at the time risk was low of day, so I was risking pretty much 1225, and whenever it hits my stop, I get out. That's one thing about trading, is you don't really want to play that game, because yes, it did come back, as you can see, right? But you don't know if it is, and good trading is cutting your risk, and as well, it's getting back in whenever the setup reemerges. And that's the main point of this video lesson, is that sometimes you're gonna get stopped out of a stock. That's trading, but you can't let it dictate the next trade. Every trade is independent on its own nature, and you just have to get back in. And I did get back in with pathetic size, but the setup's still the setup. I don't really care. I'm trading very small right now. Again, $1,000 and growing this, and that's just where I'm at right now. And yeah, obviously I'm trading in the sim right now as well. I took that, but that's just because I'm trying to seize the strategy, and this is a good setup, even though it didn't make higher lows. Yes, you could have bought it off the dip, but I was going off the open here, and it pretty much rejected the first trade, which I lost roughly $45, I think, 44, but I got long again, only 6 shares, very pathetic, but again, small size, because cash account. Hopefully soon I go to margin. But ideally swing, and I'm watching all of the really metal stocks, UAMY. I'm watching all of these are developing really well. This is a big base, okay? This is what we look for. Former runner, basing on these moving averages, and this is a nice range break today. I'll even off the 10-day. So I'm watching this one for sure. For potential range break over this pivot point, let's say 1150, I would say. Same with LAC, same type of deal, former runner. Again, focus on former runners. let's go here. Let's spell out this chart. Has gone before in the past. And as you notice, you know, the best stocks that can run are often the shittiest. That's just how it works. So I'm watching it, you know, I always have these on backlist. USR, same type of deal. Former runner in the past has gone secondary. This is kind of the third move. I love how it's pretty much made a linear move, and it's basing here on the 10-day, making nice ranges. So we'll see. Over 24 with volume. Hopefully there's news, but it's a really hot sector right now. Same with LAR, nice range break on the daily. All these are just, you know, I have them on backlist to say, just watching them, you know. But that really was all. Also, Rolar went. I talked about this one yesterday in the video lesson. Pretty much did what I was aiming for to do on Friday, you know, off this range break. I got long Friday, as I mentioned on the Sunday video scan. Pretty much somewhat chasing this one. When was it? Friday I got long? Yeah, I got long here, pretty much. For that pivot break off this blue line here, that's the range break. And we pretty much had it today. Very illiquid, well, 4 million. But I was already in CRML and no buying power, obviously. So congrats to anyone who did get long this one. Obviously, gave back a lot of the gains, so it's just one to watch for sure. No specific news on this. It's a gambling technology, I believe. Yeah, it's like a predictions market, so it's one to watch. It reminds me of OSHA back in the day. I think that's what it's called, OSHA. A long time ago. They didn't reverse splits, but it reminds me of that setup. So I'm watching it for anything down the road. But other than that, that's really all I traded. Again, I'm kind of limited right now because a small account, but I'm just trying to focus on the high alt setups. UMY already went over. This one I like the most. It's just making a big base, you know. It's basing really well on these moving averages, and all you really need is something to get this going, you know, whether it be news or something, because it has spikeability, as you can see here. So it's just a waiting game, you know. Other than that, USCR, NBTS. I'm watching for potential continuation. It's semi name with all the other semi, AMD being the leader. Pretty much it's basing here nice on the hourly here, so we'll see. Ideally, you know, as I mentioned, I don't really short sell a lot. I don't recommend it, but it's good risk reward using this as resistance levels. I'll say this will fade, but if it does rally past this point, we can have a potential squeeze. SGML, same type of scenario, metal theme, linear move off the moving averages, recent runner off this range break. Look at this basing here, and it's pretty much holding here on the daily chart. So that's what I'm watching for on that one, for potential range break over 2150 or 22, but we'll see. This one has gone for sure, and again, I always say you want to focus. This is kind of choppy, you know. There's a lot of resistance overhead compared to like something like UAMY, where it's really not. You know, this is setting up really nicely. And out of like the sector trades, I just focus on the ones with the highest ADR. You know, the ones that have the highest spikeability, in a sense. That's what I watch for. INTC had an opportunity, kind of stuffed. Mentioned the delayed reaction type of scenario. Over $87. It's making higher lows, so it's setting up really nicely. I'm watching that one. Lunar aerospace theme, just watching it. Other than that, gas still basing really well. That's really all. I'm just watching the metals. I just want to go over this one trade and really just to focus on, like, if you get stopped out in a trade, you know, that it's okay to get back in. Most often than not, you will get stopped out, but use higher time frames, you know. But you don't want to get in if the stock's up greater than the average true range, you know. Like for instance, the ATR on this is $1.40. So like for today, it's up $2.94. Obviously it's up after hours, but like for this example, you don't want to buy it now. That's chasing. You want to buy it on a dip if you were. The best time to buy it is out of the open. Hence why I got long pretty much like after the market opened, but of course lower day stopped me out. In hindsight, you get back in. And I did, but very small size. But that's that. Ideally a continuation on this one. It's up after hours. It has resistance overhead, but we'll see on this one. It's just playing the odds, But other than that, that's really all. I'm watching UAMY as another one setting up for this week. But other than that, just always focus on risk and stay safe out there.